Today's tutorial is going to be how to make this wonderful knit hat. I've got it in multiple different sizes using different needles. What we're going to use today is size 4 knitting needles. I've got 16-inch circulars, and then as you get to the crown of the hat, you'll need to go down to the double pointed needles, and these are size 4. I've used this yarn right here. It is Big Twist Supernova. It is a number 2 weight yarn using the size 4 needles. This particular yarn here is Big Twist Value worsted weight yarn, and I used size 7 knitting needles and size 7 double pointed needles to do the crown. So for the cast on method, these two were 88 stitches. This one was 96 stitches. You're using multiples of 8 stitches. This particular child's hat I used with the worsted weight yarn, and I did 64 stitches. For the tutorial today, we're going to go ahead using the circular needles, the size 4 circular needles, and the Big Twist Supernova, and I will be casting on 96 stitches. Now I have mine. Slip knot, fingers like that, grasping both tails, flipping it like this. I always learned, especially when you're first starting, touching that needle all the way on the meat of the thumb, going all the way up to the tip of the thumb, touch your finger, grabbing that, pulling that through the hole, move the thumb out of the way, and tighten. So doing the same thing and getting that repetitive motion. So I'm going to go ahead and cast on the 96 stitches, and when I get that done, I will come back and show you the rest of the hat. So I've got my 96 stitches cast on, so I'm going to turn this and grab this and making sure that I don't twist any of my stitches. So I'm going to line up that bottom, twisting it all the way around, making sure. All right, so we can see that the stitches right here on the inside of the ring, it's not twisted. If you do twist it, you'll have to undo it. There's not a way to fix that if your stitches get twisted. Okay, so here we are. It's the beginning of my round, and I'm going to do what's called a 1-by-1 ribbing. I'm going to knit the first stitch and purl the second stitch, and I'm going to continue that all the way around. So knitting that one, purling, so I take my needle, coming in this way, have the yarn that way, pulling that down, and go all that way. I knit in the continental style. If you knit and you're a thrower, there's nothing wrong with that. We all do things differently. So I'm going to continue doing this ribbing, this 1-by-1 ribbing, for about an inch, inch and a half, depending on what depth you want the ribbing of your hat to be. So as soon as I get that ribbing done, I will meet you here. All right, I've gone ahead and completed my ribbing, and I ended up doing 10 rounds of ribbing for this one. 96 stitches on this particular hat as opposed to the 88. Again, it is multiples of 8. So my ribbing, if you wanted it to be like this, it's approximately 1.5 inches. So it is total pure taste. I'm enjoying how this Big Twist Supernova yarn has pretty much one color per round, and really is such a nice yarn for this. All right, so now we're going to go ahead, drop my stitch marker. There we go. We're going to get into the pattern of the hat. What makes this beautiful stitch right here, which really shows up beautifully in that Supernova. Very, very simple. This is what we're going to go ahead and do. There we go. Get on the camera. Knit the first round, then knit 1, purl 1 for the second round, back to knitting, and then purl 1, knit 1. And that is the entire pattern for the entire hat body portion. Here we are. We've got our marker, and I'm just going to knit all the way around. I finished my first round of knitting, and as we see with the pattern, our next round is going to be knit 1, purl 1 all the way around, just the same as we did for our ribbing. So knit the first one, purl the second, and continue around. Knit one, purl one, all the way around. All right, that round is finished. And the third round, very easy. We're just going to knit all the way around. For our pattern right here, we're just going to go ahead and knit all the way around. Very meditative, very nice, easy, comfortable pattern. The fourth round of our pattern, we're going to go ahead and purl one, then knit one, and you're going to continue that all the way around. What that does is right here on that first knit stitch, this will be the first time that has a purl stitch on top of it, and that's going to really create our pattern. So we're purling that first one, and we knit that every time previously, and we're going to knit the second one. And you'll notice you've got two knit stitches stacked on top of each other. That's what we're going for. Purl, then knit, then purl, then knit. And you're going to do that all the way around. So I've done one complete round, or one complete set of the pattern rows 1 through 4, and you can really start to see how this is shaping up, the way that you're getting that lattice stitch from that purl and the knit. It really looks like multiple layers, and it's really a great pattern for breaking up the color of your yarn. So we're going to continue doing that for the body. The first round knit, then knit purl, then knit, then purl knit. So this is going again, knitting on this particular round. So you'll notice on this second stitch right here, now we have 3 rows of knit. The next round is going to be that knit purl, so you'll have that purl on top of it. So that's a good visual cue to know what that next one is going to be. So each one, before you do another, see, you had a purl here, before you do another purl, you have 3 rows of knit. So if you set your knitting down like we tend to do, that's a good way to look at it, to figure out where are you in the pattern and what your next round should be. And you continue doing this until, for an adult size, about 6 inches. Let's show you this on the adult size hat that I've got here. Before I started my decreases, which starts right there, there we go, just a tad over 6 inches is what this is. For the children's hats, I've got this one here, was a worsted weight casting on with 64 stitches. And how many was that before I started my decreases? And this one I did 5, almost 5.5 inches. And then this one right here, let's see, where was I at right here? And I did that 5.5 inches on that also. I'm going to make this particular hat about 6.5 inches for the tutorial. But there you have it. Continue in that manner, following your pattern, knit around, knit purl, knit around, purl, knit, until you get about 2 inches, 1.5 to 2 inches from the crown, about where you're wanting to be. And I will meet you back when we both get to that point. All right, I've continued on my body, and we'll go ahead, and that looks good for me. I'm going to go ahead and measure that. I have about 6.5 inches. This is more towards that adult size, and I have cast on 96 stitches. So I've got 12 stitches between each marker. So we're going to go ahead and place our 8 stitch markers on a knit round. So I've got 12 stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Sorted out my stitch markers. I know they all match. I'm kind of geeky like that. Red was my beginning of the round, and then every 12 stitches I'm going to replace one of these. So when we get around and all of them are placed, we'll come back and start working on those decreases together. All right, I've got all my stitch markers placed all the way around, my little green rings, and my center one is a red one. Doesn't really matter, just something that shows a difference so I know where the actual beginning of the round is. I'm going to continue in the same pattern stitch that we have done throughout the entire body of the hat, and 2 stitches before our marker, I'm going to knit those last 2 stitches right here together all the way around. So as we've discovered with our patterns thus far, this one I've got the one knit stitch, and then I've got 3 columns of knit, so I know this is going to be a knit and that's a purl, in case you forget where your rows are. So this is a round 2 for me. So knit, purl, and I'm going to continue that until I get to that marker. All right, 2 stitches before the marker right here, I'm going to knit those 2 together and slip that marker. Now here's on this one right here, I've got that 1 knit stitch right here in the purl, so this is going to be a knit. I'm going to continue in the pattern all the way. So knit, purl. So however the stitches present, keeping them in the pattern all the way around. So I'm 2 stitches before, and I'm going to knit those 2 together. This one right here, again, I've got that purl and knit, so that's going to be a knit on top of that and a purl on the next one. That's called reading your knitting, knowing what that next stitch is going to be. Your eye gets trained to what you're looking for. So I'm 2 stitches before, and I'm going to knit those 2 together. So what we're doing is we're decreasing 8 stitches every other round. So we're decreasing on the rows that we're doing that knit, purl, or the purl knit. Those are the rows that we're decreasing. On your knit rounds, you're not decreasing, you're just knitting those. I'm going to continue around, looking for that red marker to show me that I am done with my round. Knitting together. All right, and we are almost there. I saw it peeking up in my peripheral vision. We are coming upon that marker. Here we go. So we have successfully removed 8 stitches. Nice. So this is an easy round. We're just knitting all the way around. We're going to keep doing these 2 stitches, or these 2 rounds all the way, repeating those, doing a decrease round like we just did, and then a plain knit round until we are down to decrease down to 8 stitches. That's when we'll cut our yarn and pull all of those together as tightly as possible and weave in our ends. Once we continue to decrease every other round, we're going to have to switch to our double pointed needles at some point. Your other option is to use 2 longer needles and do the magic loop method for decreasing. All right, our next round of decreases, we can see we've got that column of knits right here. So we're going to start with that purl 1. And just as we did on our last round, as soon as we get to 2 stitches before our marker, here we are, we're going to knit these 2 stitches together and slip the marker and continue on. We've continued to decrease 8 stitches every other row per pattern. When we got down to 8 stitches, we broke the yarn, wove the yarn through the 8 live stitches, tightening up the top of the hat. Once that was done, we wove in our ends, and now we have a beautiful hat that we can wear with pride.